Welcome back to Pro Sex Studios. I'm Brian Downs, and on this channel I talk about the sexual subtext of popular films and television shows. Is the message that these vehicles are delivering positive or negative? Let's talk about Easy A. Easy A stars Emma Stone as Olive Pendergast, a high school student whose reputation gets away from her in her small California town in the year 2010. The movie is about attitudes toward sex. But what is the movie's attitude toward sex? We begin with Olive speaking in voiceover. The conceit is that the entire film is Olive's narration of events from the future when she publicly presents the true story. Her first words are, "The rumors of my promiscuity have been greatly exaggerated." Olive's very first words are an assertion that she has had much less sex than people believe. That is what she wants the world to know. She is making a public statement distancing herself from the whole matter. This is the negative meme, serious people don't sex. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I've identified 12 negative memes that are constantly recycled in the media's barrage of anti-sex messaging. In serious people don't sex, heroes, people with responsibilities, people we should look up to, don't have sex lives. First thing Olive wants us to know is the rumors of her promiscuity have been greatly exaggerated. But how much sex has she had? We'll return to that question. She goes on, "I used to be anonymous, invisible to the opposite sex. If Google Earth were a guy, he couldn't find me if I were dressed up as a 10-story building." But she says all that changed when she started lying about some very personal things. First, Olive is being played by Emma Stone. This famous beauty was invisible to boys. Second, what she means by invisible to boys is that they were not interested in her for sex until she carried out an elaborate deception operation to make everyone believe that she was available for just that thing. Yes, you're also going to be invisible to people looking for tennis partners until you give out the signal that you like to play tennis. The next scene is Olive and her friend Rhiannon, played by Ali Michalka, on their high school campus. Rhiannon is saying, "George is not a sexy name. George is like what you name your teddy bear, not the name you want to scream out during climax." She's quickly interrupted and shut up by Mr. Griffith, a teacher played by Thomas Hayden Church. Danger is sex. This is one of the negative memes. Sex is presented as dangerous, threatening, alarming. What does talking about sex do? It puts you in a confrontation with the teacher. Danger is sex. Who's George, by the way? George is Olive's fictional date for this weekend. Olive made him up in order to dodge an invitation to go camping with Rhiannon and her family. Of course, George doesn't go to their high school. He's a student at the community college. No one has ever met him. Rhiannon believes this story, and at school the following Monday, she asks Olive if she went to bed with George. That conversation goes like this. Olive: "No, of course not." Rhiannon: "You liar. You totally lost your V-card to him." Olive: "No, I didn't." Rhiannon: "Yes, you did. Tell me everything." Olive: "Rhi, I'm not that kind of girl." Rhiannon: "Oh, really? The kind that does it? Or the kind that does it but doesn't have the lady balls to tell her best friend?" Rhiannon insists on being told every detail, and she fires off bitch and shitface and then smacks Olive on the head until Olive tells her what she wants to hear. "Fine, we did it." Rhiannon, who is displaying a lot of cleavage, throws her arms around Olive. "Yes, finally! Now you're a super slut like me." Olive says, "I don't think letting Peter Headland motorboat you behind Bed Bath & Beyond really makes you a super slut." Rhiannon enthusiastically insists on hearing every detail, and Olive manufactures some, enjoying the feeling of holding the pushy Rhi in her power. There is so much to talk about here. First, our hero, Olive, is presented to us as being primly virginal, never yet kissed. Of course not! She's 17 years old, could be mistaken for Emma Stone in dim light, but somehow she's invisible to boys, mentions zero previous experience, and doesn't even hint at a sexual encounter with her fictional gentleman. Instead, she describes him as a perfect gentleman, and that deserves a sidebar. The phrase "a perfect gentleman" describes a man who goes on a date with a woman but shows no sexual interest in her. It encapsulates how profoundly, neurotically anti-sex our entire culture is. We believe, and we do not question, that the way a man distinguishes himself as a candidate to be a woman's one and only lifelong sex partner is by feigning no interest in it. That's admirable. It's also dishonest. By definition, he is interested in her and she knows it. That's why they call it a date. But back to our story. In spite of Olive deploying perfect gentleman, Rhee asks her if she went to bed with George. Olive instantly and firmly denies it. No, of course not. Apparently offended at the suggestion that she did it with her fictional gentleman, Rhee then calls her friend Olive a liar straight to her face and eagerly demands every detail. Close up on Olive as she intones, "Rhee, I'm not that kind of girl." So Rhee enhances her interrogation, pulling Olive into an isolated restroom where she barks insults in her face and strikes her in the head until Olive tells Rhee what Rhee insists is true. Fine, we did it. Then Rhee embraces her friend, declaring them both super sluts, except that the movie wants us to know right away that Rhee's history consists entirely of once letting Peter Headland put his nose in her cleavage behind a retail outlet. Don't worry, gentle viewer, Rhee's barely been touched. She's merely utilized a little light torture to coerce her friend into giving up private information so that she can feel closer to Olive. And to wind up this carnival of sexual dysfunction that includes no sex, Olive opens her description of her make-believe encounter with these words: "It was normal, nothing freaky." Her first priority is that Rhee understand that her fictional encounter was the right kind of action, not the wrong kind of action in which freaks indulge. But public restrooms are not private, and their conversation has been overheard by Marianne Bryant, president of the religiously conservative Cross Your Heart Club. She makes it her Christian crusade to spread the scandalous news, and the movie asks us to believe that the invisible Olive's alleged encounter with the George no one knows is the talk of the campus. Apparently this incident is at least 90% of the action in town. Then we get a flashback to 8th grade. 4 years ago, showing us that the closest Olive has ever been to the action was when she was pushed into a bedroom with a boy named Todd for a session of 7 minutes in heaven. Much to Olive's disappointment, the nervous Todd failed to touch her. Back in the present, Olive lands in the principal's office for firing an insult at one of the bullying Christian clique. The principal tells Olive that one more infraction like that will get her expelled. What was the infraction? Using a colloquialism for vagina. Danger is sex. Referencing sex in an argument winds you up in the principal's office. But on the good side of all this, Olive is now getting more attention from boys. She says, "I didn't mean for the lie to put me on the map, but I've got to admit, I kind of liked being on the map." Notice, though, that while she has boys following her in a pack, she does not use this opportunity to get a single date. This brings us to Brandon, who is gay. Olive told Brandon the truth about George, so Brandon suggests that maybe Olive could lie about going to bed with him too. If their classmates believe that Brandon got busy with Olive, they will stop tormenting him for being gay. What's the most painful problem in Brandon's life? The way he is treated for his sexual orientation. Danger is sex. Is Brandon enjoying that orientation at all? Does he have a lover? Certainly not, because serious people don't sex. Brandon is a sympathetic character, so he has to have as little sex as we can possibly manage. So Olive and Brandon make a theatrical production of arriving at a party together. Olive in a sexy dress. They parade into a bedroom, close the door, and Olive beats the hell out of Brandon. Yes, In order to get him to make convincing sex noises, she first slaps his face, then spanks his butt many times. Then they jump up and down on the bed, moaning and groaning while a crowd of their classmates listen at the door. The whole point of this scene is to show that it's totally ludicrous to think that our heroine might actually be having a sexual encounter. When Brandon smacks Olive's butt in imitation of what she did to him without warning or permission a few seconds ago, she angrily slaps his shoulder in retribution. When he improvises the line, "Do you smell that? Do you smell us?" she rains offended slaps on him. A few seconds later, she asks him, "Are you ready for the grand finale?" Brandon replies, "What?" And Olive hammers an uppercut into his solar plexus, doubling him up and causing him to throw out a groan that will be mistaken for climax by the listeners outside. Okay. Brandon wants to pretend to have sex with Olive so that people will stop tormenting him for being gay. But we don't see torment. We see him with a bloody nose early in the film, but he never says that he was struck because he is gay. No one in this affluent California town ever says a word to him about it. Rhiannon accepts his orientation without remark. When he arrives at the party, the only consternation he causes is surprise that the gay kid has arrived with this ravishing, red-headed girl on his arm. The most abuse we see Brandon endure is from Olive when she is pretending to have sex with him. Danger is sex. Do you want to simulate the business? Well, that comes with a surprise fist to your breathing equipment. In order to escape social torture that we do not see, Brandon has to endure physical torture downstage front. That's what you get for even pretending. This is also what I call bad behavior in women, which is a sidebar on this channel. We often see female characters doing things that male characters would not be permitted to do, not without being labeled the villain. Would it be funny if the boy had decided that the way to really sell this to the kids in the hall would be with some spontaneous kung fu? If Brandon had expressed his unhappiness with some remark of Olive's by smacking her not once but several times, would we say, "That Brandon kid has got moxie"? No, we would be appalled, but when Olive hits Brandon, it's charming. Now it's a public fact that Olive has done the nasty twice. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is calling her a dirty skank. Rhiannon castigates her for it, and that ends their friendship. And Olive decides to lean into her new reputation with a new dirty skank wardrobe, which means tight jeans, bare shoulders, and Wayfarers from Ray-Ban. The boys collapse when she licks a spoon. It's also a public fact that Olive just pretends to have sex because Brandon can't keep his mouth shut. Soon, Olive has boys paying her for permission to publicly claim that they have touched her chest and other under-the-bleachers intimacies. Like Brandon, they believe this will improve their social standing. At first, Olive is outraged that anyone would offer money, but she gets over that quickly. The movie wants us to believe that everyone knows about Olive's made-up adventures, while nobody knows that it's all a sham except for each and one of her bragging clients, of course. When the teacher, Mr. Griffith, tries to talk to Olive, she deflects him. Enter Mrs. Griffith, the school's guidance counselor, played by Lisa Kudrow. In a private conversation with her husband, Mr. Griffith, she agrees to make an appointment with Olive. She also good-naturedly deflects her husband's hands 3 times, saying, "We're at school, there are rules." Olive takes the meeting with the guidance counselor, but it's no more productive than the meeting with the teacher. The main point is for Olive, who is conducting a far-reaching deception operation designed to convince everyone that she has a varied, frequent, and crowded sex life, to be annoyed and insulted when the guidance counselor presses some condoms on her. Because danger is sex. When the guidance counselor believes Olive's lies, Olive is annoyed. And it's with the introduction of Mrs. Griffith that the film swoops into its third act. And this gets complicated because of Micah. Micah is a 22-year-old dim bulb who has 2 dreams: to finally graduate high school and to convert his covert bang buddy situation with his married guidance counselor into a real relationship. He's dumb, got it? And when he goes to the doctor with a pain in his pee-pee, he is diagnosed with chlamydia, a minor STI that is cured with a pill. Micah's mother is standing at his bedside when he receives the news. She instantly starts smacking him in the head, demanding, "Who have you been screwing? Tell me now, or I will kill you right here." This is what we call your problem is sex. Micah must confess to his sins or his mother will kill him, or at least keep hitting him in the head. Also, danger is sex, because notice that 55 minutes into this film about sex, Micah is the first person who has had any sex, and what does he get? A disease and a collection of blows to the head. And the end of his chaste romance with Marianne Bryant, his fellow Cross Your Heart Christian Club member, who is very put out to discover that Micah is getting any action. Micah is not smart. Only stupid people have sex, and then they get a disease. But he is smart enough not to admit to his affair with Mrs. Griffith, who is on the staff of the school he attends. So while his mother is smacking him, this is the second time a character has been forced into a confession about their sex life with hits to the skull, Micah cries out 3 words: Olive! Olive Pendergast! Mrs. Griffith, much shaken by this plot twist, blurts out a confession to Olive. Explaining herself, she says, "You should know that my marriage is not great. We haven't slept together in months. In months, all right?" This is very important. The film refers directly to Mrs. Griffith's sexual relationship with Micah because that is the bad relationship that will end her marriage and her career. But the film goes out of its way to obscure the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Griffith. No one ever refers to this married couple having sex, but we get Mrs. Griffith herself telling us that they don't. But why not? In their only scene together, the tone was light, friendly, and on his part, anyway, flirtatious. He tried to touch her and she shut him down. When she was pushing his hand away, did she say, "Slow down, cowboy, we'll open the Cabernet later tonight"? No, she instead tells him that she'll be working late, which seems now like a cover story for a date with Boy Dunder. I'll tell you why their marriage bed is so cold, because Mr. Griffith is a sympathetic character and serious people don't sex. The less Mr. Griffith does it, the more admirable he is. Olive is shocked to find out that her cultivated reputation as a dirty skank has suddenly mutated into a reputation as a dirty skank, but Mrs. Griffith reassures her that she will tell the world the truth. However, Olive doesn't want to see Mrs. Griffith get detonated with Mr. Griffith as collateral damage. So she throws herself on the bacterium grenade. With great compassion, Olive the helper says to her guidance counselor, "I could have chlamydia." She tells Mrs. Griffith, "Call Micah, tell him that I confess to giving him chlamydia." The next thing you know, the Cross Your Heart Club is demonstrating in the street with signs and everything against Olive's very presence. They are very unhappy that she gave their leader's chaste boyfriend an STI. Rhiannon is part of the protest. Remember the friend who first smacked Olive into admitting to George? Things get very ugly when a boy named Anson asks Olive out to the Lobster Shack. Olive thinks this might be a sign that her social life is recovering, but dinner is a double disaster because she and Anson are seen at the shack by Rhiannon, who Olive says has been in love with Anson since the first grade, although she apparently has never done anything about it. Olive flees the restaurant, and then she is bitterly disappointed in the parking lot when Anson offers her a $200 Home Depot gift card, not to claim he had sex with her. Anson has misunderstood the swirl of rumors. He expects to have sex with her, and before Olive can extract herself, he presses 3 kisses on her that she does not want. Let's review. While in fact being a never yet kissed virgin, Olive has cultivated a hot reputation. What's the result? She is manhandled by Dickie McFuckface. That's what you get for pretending to be interested in sex. Her very first kiss is this assault. This film pretends to be critical of slut shaming while showing us the story of a girl who is shamed and assaulted for pretending to be a slut. Anson speeds away angrily, but as it happens, Todd works at the Lobster Shack and he offers Olive a ride home. And let's talk about Olive and Todd. They have been in the same school since at least 8th grade. Their attraction was obvious then and is clear now. They bump into each other here and there, and Todd is always friendly and agreeable. And yet, Olive spends so little time with him that she doesn't even realize that he works at the Lobster Shack. They emphatically did not kiss during their 7 minutes in heaven. What is preventing them from coming together? Serious people don't sex. That's what's preventing them. Nothing is preventing them from uniting, except that heroes can't do that. They want one another, so they must ignore each other. For years. See also Captain America and Agent Carter. That point is driven home when Todd tells Olive that while he passed on the opportunity to kiss her in 8th grade, he did kiss Rhiannon about a year later, and Todd wants the audience to know that Rhi is a terrible kisser. Olive reacts with anger. "Oh my God, that bitch, and she knew how I felt about you." Well, Olive may have felt something for Todd, but she did zero about it for years. That makes this the relationship we're supposed to admire. Rhiannon acted on an attraction to Todd by kissing him once, 3 years ago, and that makes her the bitch villain, terrible kisser interfering in this true love story where the true lovers barely speak to one another. The point is driven even harder when Todd hesitantly asks, "How do you feel about me?" and Olive nearly shouts, "Felt, I said felt," heroically denying her desire again. But her facade cracks moments later when Todd asks if he can kiss her and she says no, because it's not the right moment. "I've wanted to kiss you since the 8th grade, but I want it to be perfect, and right now, my life is a mess." This kiss hasn't happened for 4 years, and the movie isn't going to let it happen now because serious people don't sex. Incidentally, this particular exchange is staged in such a way that he says, "May I kiss you?" and she says no, and what he does then is apologize for asking before she says, "The moment's not right." So what we do see Todd doing is apologizing for asking if he can kiss her. He doesn't kiss her, not here. He apologizes. Olive decides that she must tell the truth. Luckily, Brandon, the gay kid, left town with his new male lover, so his reputation as a straight stud will suffer no damage. Notice that Brandon didn't get a sex life until he was out of the film. Olive tells Mr. Griffith that his wife is unfaithful and has chlamydia, then apologizes for it on her webcast because even though this is information Mr. Griffith would certainly want, you have to apologize for talking about sex. We pause for Olive to talk with her mother. Her mother tells her that she had a reputation as a slut when she was young too. Why? Because I was a slut, Mom explains. Sorry, I got around. Before I met Dad, I had incredibly low self-worth. Easy A can't possibly get to the end credits without one more stop to batter us with puritanism. Let's trot out this minor supporting character to say, I am a reformed slut. Before I met your father, I had a frequent and varied sex life with other consenting adults because I hated myself. This is a negative meme called Celebrating Celibate Marriage. The audience is supposed to like and admire Olive's parents and their relationship, but there is hardly one moment of eroticism between them. I don't think we even see them kiss. Mom was in the action before she met Dad, and she regrets it. But since Dad, no action at all. Maybe once, to get Olive. They adopted their second child. Olive plans her webcast, the frame story through which we've been watching the film, and in which she will speak her truth. In order to draw attention to the upcoming event, she crashes a pep rally to do a song and dance number in a bustier and boy shorts. This is the negative meme, sexy, sexy celibates. Discounting Dickie McFuckface, Olive has never been kissed, but look at how damn sexy she is. You know, it's only a moral victory when beautiful people don't do it. Olive winds up her webcast, we've all been watching it as we've watched the film, when Todd shows up outside her window. But before she goes, She tells the world that she might lose her virginity to him at an unspecified time in the indefinite future. Then she goes outside and kisses him once. It's important to note that we never see any of Olive's critics apologize to her or realize that they have behaved badly or reevaluate their attitudes. No, on the contrary, we see Rhiannon receive a text message in which Olive apologizes for lying to Rhiannon when Rhiannon was shouting in her face and whacking her on the head. What is the message of Easy A? Mom's life is better now that she's celibate. The two people who had sex are diseased adulterers. The mob that shrieked in the streets for Olive's ejection from the community never get their comeuppance or even rethink their actions. And Olive only escapes her position as community scapegoat when she publicly proclaims her virginity. Let me repeat that. Olive only escapes her position as community scapegoat when she publicly proclaims her virginity. She began by saying, "The rumors of my promiscuity have been greatly exaggerated," and she ends by announcing to the world that she has had no sex at all. She is a virgin and might very well remain so for years to come. That is why you should respect her. Then the film tries to undo all of that with one smooch next to the lawnmower. Easy A gets a tortured F for sex positivity. Thank you for your time. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. We'll be back next week for more analysis of this kind. I'm Brian Downs.